What is up guys, Bo here again, and welcome to another vlog. In this entry I wanted to do something that's in a similar vein to my previous entry, right? I've been doing quite a few of these entries road to like back to back, right? But like that's because it's just been quite a while since I've made them and I wanted to get all of these out there. But this entry is similar to the previous entry where I gave a statement that kind of summarized some of the entries that I've done like in recent months, to give you the like a kind of crystallization of like my insights, right, regarding the kind of conscious shift that we're making right now. And in this entry I wanted to give you the statement of owning and moving forwards, right? It's almost like a life mantra or something like that, I don't know. But like owning and moving forwards. This is how we live life. This is how we move on and live life, right? So, if you're familiar with like spiritual terms and like teachings given by like contemporary spiritual teachers, you might have heard things like presence, or there's this recent one that Matt Kahn, spiritual teacher Matt Kahn, talked about, which he calls circulating energy, right? And I've also talked about this in one of my entries, but like essentially, right, I've said in my entries that like anything in life can happen, right? Like we go through this spiritual journey trying to find a meaning behind everything, right? We explore many different perspectives, and what we're ultimately trying to find is an ultimate truth, that is essentially like, in a way, like kind of absolves us from our pain, like gives our pain meaning, and then ultimately kind of like protects us from pain, right? But then we realize that no matter what we do, like pain is always going to be there, discomfort is always going to be there, fear is always going to be there. They're part of life, right? And once you bang your head against this wall enough, right, you'll learn that like you have no choice but to accept that, right? And the acceptance is at that point becomes something that isn't anymore something that carries with it this kind of dreadful feeling, but more kind of like I did an entry about surrender, right? Just like, well, I have no choice. I've fought so hard, like there's nothing I can do. Oh well, I just have to accept it. It's more of like a relief kind of a thing, right? There's still this again. It's very weird. It's a feeling thing. Because like it doesn't mean that from that point on you'll never experience fear again or pain or anything like that. But like it almost changes the meaning, if that makes sense. And it's not necessarily a conceptual meaning, although it can be articulated as such. But something about the quality of your life changes, right? Right, and so I talk a lot in my entries about how the thing that has happened to human beings, human society, over the course of history is that we have become steadily more analytical, right? We have become slowly more logical, right? Because we are animals, right? And we are the most self-aware and intelligent animals, but we are also the animals that rely too much on our analytical faculties, right? On our snapshot process of logic, right? And because of this, everything in our lives has become this kind of like mental chess game where like we're always trying to like predict things and to like preempt things and to like argue about things in such a way that doesn't even yield a physical result. But we in many ways like we seek intellectual therapy, intellectual kind of comfort more than physical comfort. Like it becomes more of a, as long as it makes sense to me, I'm willing to like deal with a shitty life situation, if that makes sense. It's really weird, right? But yeah, but what our thinking mind does, like thinking mind being the major pitfall of our species, right? As Teal Swan postulates, is it makes us, it disconnects us from life, and it kind of keeps us stagnant, right? Like I mentioned in the previous entry, like I talk about the reason for like stepping into and consciousness from, typically all consciousness, right? And consciousness also including all consciousness, right? But these concepts are merely concepts that allow us to become more energetically free. That's the reason why we do any of this shit, right? And so similarly to like, the previous entry that I did about new paradigm includes the old paradigm, the reason why we step into and consciousness, why this new consciousness shift is important is because it allows us to become more energetically free and less energetically constricted, right? And traditionally, like with this, right, what has happened is like, because we think so much, we worry so much, we try to predict so much, we rely so much on our thinking, is that we get stuck. Energetically we get stuck. Nothing happens. We don't feel free because it's more of a feeling thing. You can project all you want, like, intellectually, how your future is going to be, how it might feel, but that is merely a projection, right? Or the only moment that exists, as far as the body is concerned, is the present moment. If you want to go deep with it, like really, like past and present don't really exist. They exist as something within us, physiologically, biologically, that then manifests, like, and creates the illusion that we're like scanning into the past and into the future, but really it's just a state within us. It's like computer memory, right? It's like you store something, and like it's but like can it really be argued that that thing is something that is a past thing? Really? Can it really be argued that way? Or can it indeed be like, obviously you can't make the argument that something that is stored is a future thing, but can it really be argued that it's a past thing? Or is it merely something that exists on the computers, on those little diodes or whatever the fuck, right? Those little chips, right? That merely represents something that was created earlier in time, right? That was created, right? But like, human beings have because of our thinking, like we have created this concept of time, and that's how we think of life, right? And like we let that affect us. We let things that have happened affect us, and things that will happen affect us, when really the only thing that exists is the present moment, right? And so like, and this is why, like, people are depressed, because the present moment will always defy your expectations. It always will, because like, no matter what you think, no matter how much experience you think you've had in the past, it's like the present moment is always unraveling, right? And you could argue that you don't have much control over the present moment, but like really, the way that you control it is that you kind of change the way it affects you, right? At least it's a combination, really. Everything is kind of an interaction between external and internal, right? From yourself and other people, or the world, right? But it's like, it's kind of a balance between like, having having a physical goal that you consciously and physically will yourself to like undertake, but then also you need to like think about how things affect you, right? And this is what owning and moving forward is all about, right? This articulation, the statements of owning and moving forward, is essentially a way for you to live unaffected by past or future, or any mental definition you give it, right? Because yes, you need these definitions like in order to form a plan for like whatever goal you're trying to achieve, right? But when it comes to actually living life, whatever happens, you need to move forward, right? basically, is what I'm saying. Like, you need to own whatever it is that is happening to you, so that you minimize trauma, you know. Because like a lot of the trauma that we, basically the trauma that we a lot of the trauma that we I would argue all trauma, really, all trauma is based on our own interpretation, basically. You know, like, yes, you might lose a limb, and that's going to affect your physiology and what you can do in the world physically. But like, in terms of like things that hold people back, or that things that like cause people to stop functioning to the capacity that they could function, is basically trauma that is based off of their own, like purely their own interpretation, right? So like, yes. And this is where, you know, people get divided into two camps, right? You know, you have the people who are like I mentioned in the video about decisiveness. So there are the people who move forwards, right? And like they move forwards at the expense of, and they move forwards, but then they stop realizing that like they're moving forwards in a neurotic way. Like, you know, they're merely moving forwards. They're not like clearing like all of the trauma that they've accumulated, right? And then there are the people who like argue that like doing nothing is best, right? But then they're stuck with like the world like pushing them about everywhere, and they're like, oh man, the world is such a fucking fearful place and like dangerous place, and it's like, you get these two different people, right? But like the sweet spot is like someone who is willing to own what is happening to them, and owning means to, it essentially means to release attachment, or what I call releasing secondary resistance, right? It's to let whatever is happening happen without attaching any special meaning to it, right? Like, but it's not necessarily a negative thing, right? It's like a thing where you're like, it's here, you know, it's here. I don't have to attach a special meaning to it, because a lot of the times the reason why we attach special meaning to things is because of, one way of articulating it is scarcity, right? You know, we think that like it is the only thing. It is like, you know, like it is like, without this thing here we are unsafe, right? You know, like. It's like, you know, like, again, you know, I talked about this in the previous intro, like, you know, like, it's like, this has to be here, so it has to have a special meaning, even though, like, energetically I want to move forwards, but, like, I can't, because, like, this is here, and my mind is telling me that, like, if this is here, the other thing can't exist. And so, like, and we attach these special meanings because, like, we don't have energetic freedom, right? And energetic freedom is the basis of abundance, right? It means that we can manifest whatever it is we want, instead of, like, mentally limiting ourselves to the things that we think only have the right to exist in that moment, right? It's our own creation, man. It's our own fucking mental projection, right? But like, to own means to release that mental, like, you know, fixation on things having to be a certain way, and just to stop thinking, and to feel it, right? To feel it, and let it move through you. Not to do anything. You don't have to do anything, you know? Like, you really don't have to do anything. All you have to do, like, it's just to, like, if you think, you know? But, like, it's to stop adding more shit onto that. If you think, you think. Another, you know, a way you can overcome this is to be like, oh man, I'm resisting the fuck out of this shit. I know that I don't want to resist, you know, like, based on Boris's video that he made, you know, Bo's video, he was saying that, like, you know, I can't, that, like, I have to let go, but I can't let go. Whatever. The point is, like, it's not about letting go or not letting go. You know, it's not about anything. What it's about is being okay. Is feeling at peace. It's like feeling okay. That's it. Anything else is a waste of your time. You know, like, in terms of ownership of anything. You know, it's just like, yes, think about it. You know, and like, don't beat yourself up because you're thinking about it. And you find that the less you beat yourself up, the more you are able to own your experience, right? And after you've done that, it allows you to then move forwards, right? Life is not like, if you want to live a life where you are free energetically, you know, because that's my goal, and that's the kind of goal that I'm speaking for, like I'm espousing, is I want to live a life where I'm energetically free, right? Where, like, in a way you could call it living a life of least resistance, but then still living life, right? Because, like, again, you know, people fall into these two camps where, like, it's like there are people who resist that, you know, living a life of least resistance. You have to attain what you need to attain, right? But then there are people who live the life of least resistance and resist, like, resist living. You know, it's like life is whatever. There are people who are like, no, I must have it my way, and then there are people who are like, no, I'm not even gonna have a way because like life is gonna like steal it from me anyway, right? No, you find a middle spot, right? This is part of what unconsciousness is about, right? It's realizing that you can do both. You know, they're completely opposite paradigms, right? You know, like the act of moving forwards and having a goal is like the polar opposite of um, of having no attachment to anything, right? In RSD, you know, real social dynamics, they talk about this in terms of like clarity of intent and freedom from outcome. This is like, you know, obviously they're talking about dating, but like, you know, it's the same principle, right? You have to like be willing to use both of these concepts, even though they are mutually exclusive. You know, that they seem mutually exclusive, they're like completely opposite, but you have to know when to do both of them. And they're a 180, man. It's a bit, you could argue it's a bit schizophrenic, but hey, that's what you do, right? It's the same as fucking breathing, honestly. It's like, can you inhale and exhale at the same time? No. So what? Try and do like, so what? Like, just try and inhale as much as possible before then having to exhale. It's like the person who's like I must have it my way. It's like, and then you know, he's like trying to hyperventilate himself, right? And the person who's like, you know, like kind of like a piece of shit flowing through life is like. And he's just holding his fucking breath, right? No, just fucking breathe. Yes, you can't inhale and exhale at the fucking same time, obviously. But no one fucking questions that shit, you know? Just fucking breathe, right? Do what you feel. You know, your body knows automatically when it's gonna exhale or inhale, right? So why not apply that fucking shit to, like, life? Own it. Own whatever happens in your life, because whatever the fuck will happen in life. That's just life, right? Don't attach any special meaning to it, just own it. Owning does not mean you have to do anything specifically or like consciously. It means letting go. It really means letting go, owning. It means letting go and accepting. It's a letting go as opposed to like a doing, right? And then once you've let go, move forwards, which means have a goal, you know, follow your desire. Do whatever it is you need to do in life, you want to do in life, right? Because life, we're here to live. Yes, life, anything can happen and it can destroy us, but also we came here to live, right? So cool. That's my entry. I'm not going to belabor it anymore. So yeah, I hope that was understandable, you know. That's the direction I'm moving in. And that's how I want to live life, right? You know, this is the culmination of all of my spiritual training, basically. You know, all of my spiritual questing. It is these two concepts, right? The new paradigm includes the old paradigm, and owning and moving forwards, right? You move forwards in life. You move forwards, but you also let go of the past. You know, it is. I say it like, it sounds like two different concepts, right? Owning and moving forwards, but really it's part of the same integrated thing. It's like breathing. You could argue that inhalation and exhalation are two different processes, but together they form like this single motion, this single vibration. And this is what this is, right? It is to be present. So this is what people mean when they talk about presence, like Eckhart Tolle, for example. It means to get into the middle. This is what the Buddha meant by the middle way, right? He meant getting into the sweet spot and breathing normally. Letting go, going forwards. Letting go, moving forwards. Letting go, moving forwards. Owning, moving forwards. Owning, moving forwards. Owning, moving forwards. So cool. I hope that was helpful. This is, like I say, the culmination of all of my spiritual training so far. Who knows? Like I'll probably keep discovering shit. Like that tends to be the case when you go on a spiritual journey. You just learn more shit. But like, this is it for me so far. So cool. I hope that was interesting for you, and I'll catch you in the next entry. Peace out.